Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Discover Cellular Healing Secrets with Interval Entrainment Healing. Experience how sound frequency and vibration can activate whole body wellness. My name is Stephen Dunn. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and I love to be learning right alongside with you. And we're going to get to explore some new frontiers today about cellular intelligence and cellular healing technologies that really work with frequency patterns, some really fascinating stuff. And we're going to get to explore this with a true pioneer in this arena. Her name is Dr. Shawn Marie Higgins. She's an osteopathic physician, sound healer, author, and international lecturer. So we're in for a treat. So Shawn, thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
Great. Well, we're going to dive in. I know you've got some experiential stuff planned for us as well. And I also want to let everybody know we're going to have a brand new program with Shawn coming up called Sound Therapy with Interval Entrainment Healing. Very exciting. And we'll share a little bit more about that towards the end of the hour. So Shawn, why don't you start us off a little bit with your personal backstory and path that brought you to this work? Because clearly you've got a lot of very interesting influences converging, including having a skeleton behind you as your osteopathic physician. And so you're going to be, I think it's fascinating to see how all these things fed into the interval entrainment healing body of work.
I have actually been I've had a high affinity for animals and nature ever since I was born, really. And as you can imagine, that sort of transitioned with me through my process of going to medical school and residency. And by the way, I was an energy healer before I ever even went to medical school in my early 20s. I was very into energy healing. So I've always had a natural sort of energetic type of perspective on health and healing. Naturally, the process of medical school and residency sort of kind of drags that out of you a little bit, but I kept going through it. And when I finally became a full-fledged physician, I didn't really feel like I fit in. There was something off about the medical system and protocols of the standardized Western medical system that I didn't quite, resonate with. So luckily I went to osteopathic medical school. So I went back to my roots of osteopathy and began studying traditional osteopathy. And I became board certified in that. Then I made my practice exclusively. I took it away from general medicine, doing family medicine for 5 years. And I brought it exclusively into cranial osteopathy and energy healing. And through my work with patients doing that, I actually began to feel my own body vibrating during the treatments. And my patients were feeling it too. And we were all having these very incredible experiences with vibrations and visions and all different kinds of emotional experiences. So I began researching vibration and vibration healing. Naturally, that led me to sound healing. And I feel so blessed to have come across Dr. John Boyu's name as this guy who did sound healing. And I was like, wow, this guy is on it. I want to take one of his classes. And he was, in New York. He's not too far from me in Maine. So I drove down to one of his classes, and this was many years ago. And that story is in one of the bonuses, and I don't want you to miss that. I tell the story of my first sound healing class with John Boyu and what happened to me during that class. But through my process of learning about sound healing, I healed. And it's sort of been this marriage of my healing and practicing healing that sort of bloomed through me in my own way of resonating this learning to the world. And so I've created classes for doctors, and I have brought sound and vibration healing into formal medical education. It's now approved for continuing medical education credits for doctors. I'm working on getting it into medical schools and residency programs, but we'll see how it goes. And I also teach classes for everybody, and those are my favorite ones to teach. So I'll just keep learning and spreading and teaching and practicing.
It's an exciting backstory, and I think let's dive in. So one of the key things we wanted to bring forward is this idea of your cells as intelligent allies. That instead of seeing ourselves as sort of just like little unintelligent building blocks, this kind of like automatons that somehow we're kind of like just depending on. I think it seems like there's a real paradigm shift under your work where we start to see ourselves as a much wider, deeper, more multi-dimensional field of intelligence. And so maybe let's start there.
Okay, well, I have a question for you. Have you ever, when you're talking about something heartfelt to one of your friends or your family members, said the phrase or heard someone else say, "Every cell in my body is telling me not to do this"? Or have you heard someone say, "Every fiber of my being is telling me to go for this"? Well, if you have said that or heard that, it's because every cell of your body is telling you that. You may have also said or heard the phrase, "I have a gut feeling," or "My heart is just not in this." Those are your cells and your organs talking to you. They're talking to you not in English, but through a vibrational language that you're going to learn a little bit more about today. So what would help us all as a species would be to listen to that message that we feel from ourselves. Even just to stop and acknowledge it. And we don't have to know what to do, but acknowledging it will allow that vibrational language to penetrate a little further into your consciousness, and it will bloom through you as ideas and inspirations, and it will help guide you in decision making and action taking throughout your life. But we're going to learn more ways to communicate with cells as well. So the human body is made up of about 75 to 100 trillion cells, and each one of those is working in cooperation to be your body. They work in collective effort to be your body. Each one of these cells is an independent, intelligent being, and they intercommunicate with each other via chemical reactions and signaling, electrical signaling, and they communicate with the outside environment through a field, through an energy field or universal field of some sort. And I'm going to show you some research studies that kind of demonstrate the presence of that. So let's go to the next slide. And I want to tell you that the Institute of Heart Math has scientists that have been able to detect a field coming from the human heart, and it extends up to 8 feet all the way around the body. It comes from the heart and it just extends all around the body, just like in the picture there. And they use something called a cardiomagnetometer in order to detect that, and then they have a computer generated image of that so they can map out the field and the shape of it. And it takes on a torus type of structure. The field given off by the heart is the strongest one in the body, even up to 50 times or more stronger than the electromagnetic field given off by the brain, where the electrical impulses of the heart are stronger than the brain. There also are fields connecting everything in between our bodies. So this is the energy field of the heart. And as you can see in the diagram, it kind of can overlap with other people's heart fields, and we can kind of sense each other and sense vibes about each other. But there are fields in addition to the heart field that are connecting everything. Next slide. And if you think about it, we're genetically wired. Our cells are genetically wired to respond to pretty much everything in the external environment. I mean, a really simple example would be the cycles of day and night. Our cells and parts of our brain are wired to follow the absence or presence of sunlight, or the orbital motions of the sun, the earth, and the moon all together. That planetary triad is followed by the cells in our body. And absence of sunlight causes melatonin increase, which causes us to want to be sleepy. So that's just a very simple, a common example of how our cells will follow the cycles of the earth. And we don't have to pay attention to it. We don't have to set a melatonin alarm clock every day. Our bodies just do that for us. But they also work for us on a more intimate level by responding to our thoughts and emotions and actions on a moment-to-moment basis, day to day. For example, the emotions that we feel are sensed by our cells And the cell behavior changes according to our emotions. So if we put ourselves in environments that we don't like, our cells are going to tell us that, what they don't like about it. It works the other way around too. We may get an intuitive feeling spontaneously about something that our cells have sensed is not right for us, and they will communicate to us through intuitive feelings and emotions. So research shows that the most powerful environmental factor that influences cell behavior, even more than the nutritional environment or chemical environment that it's living in your body and in the media, the most powerful influence on cell behavior is emotion. And using nature as its yardstick for guidance, the cells know if we are or are not in alignment in emotional situations with who we truly are. So your cells agreed to be you and only you. So your cells are wise to what you need and nobody else. So they will strive to keep you in alignment with nature. And that's different for everyone. So an emotional situation for me might be different for somebody else. Depending on who they are, their cells will react differently to it. So what evidence do we have that cells are intelligent or self-actualized beings at all? Well, I want to tell you about a really cool study that I came across years ago. It's pretty cool. So next slide. So this study was originally done by the US Army on one person. After the results were obtained, the study was stopped and thrown out. I've been trying to find out why, because the results changed everything we know about life. Luckily, it was picked up by another gentleman who we will discuss in my class, and that's a surprise in the class. But his work led to highly classified mind control research in the US Army in the 1990s. The results of this study were published in the 1993 issue of Advances Journal. So the study was like this. DNA samples were taken from the inside of the mouths of subjects with swabs. They were isolated on a microscope and kept in a laboratory. Now, of course, on the slide would also be some cellular debris from the inside of the mouth and the saliva. So it was DNA and whatever cellular debris was still on the slide, but they isolated the DNA so they could see the DNA. The donors were placed in another room of the building about 100 to 300 feet away. And the donors were then shown emotionally stimulating photos and images in a separate room of the building, while their DNA and cellular debris was simultaneously being examined under a microscope in the laboratory. The DNA and the cellular debris on the slide was measured for electrical response, first of all, and observed for any changes in shape or behavior. 100% of the time, when each donor experienced emotional peaks or depths, meaning feelings of gratitude and love and compassion, or feelings of sadness and loneliness and fear based on the provocative images that were shown to them, 100% of the time, the DNA and the cellular debris responded with a very strong electrical response. It was the same across all the slides, and there was zero time lag between the response, meaning it was instantaneous. And they even used an atomic clock in Colorado to time it, and there was still zero time lapse between the emotional response of the donor and the reaction time of the DNA in the cells. And sometimes it was a split second before the image was shown. So there's an element of anticipation that our cells and DNA can sense depending on the probability of something to occur. And that's a hypothesis that I have based on a lot of the research I've read and experiences that I have. I think that there's an anticipatory dimension to all of this as well. But for now, this study demonstrates the presence of a non-physical, widespread or universal energy field because the DNA was separated from the body. How did it know what the donor was feeling in the theater room? And if that's happening with DNA and cells outside of the body, isolated on a microscope, then that's got to be happening inside of our body. So there's something present besides just the electrochemical signaling that occurs within the body between the cells. There's also some sort of energy field through which things can communicate. And it allows the instantaneous transfer of information in the form of energy, like emotion. And in the next study on the next slide, I'll show you some of the effects of intention. So this study was done by the Institute of Heart Math in the early to mid 1990s. Results showed a similar result with focused intention of specific emotions on DNA of other people. So this wasn't a spontaneous reaction to an image, like a sudden spontaneous reaction, but deliberate, premeditated, focused intention. So the studies here more clearly defined what sort of shape change the DNA was undertaking. The previous study could tell that there was a shape change and that there was electrical charge changes. These studies looked a little closer at the shape and behavioral changes of the DNA. And it turned out that when experiencing focused emotions and intentions of compassion and love, the DNA uncoiled, or its coils loosened, the double helix loosened. This type of behavior of DNA precedes cell replication and DNA transcription and replication. So loosening its coil expresses more of its genetic material. When experiencing focused intentions of fear or sadness, the DNA coiled tighter. In theory, this would inhibit gene expression because it's definitely not getting ready to replicate cells or itself for protein expression, because the DNA carries the blueprints of the body, anatomy and functions, and all of its workings. The body really isn't going to let us work very much if we're in a state of anger, fear, jealousy, any kind of negative state of mind. The DNA will actually save us from ourselves by not letting us express ourselves. Whereas when we're in a state of compassion and love and gratitude, our DNA loosens, it relaxes, and it allows us to express more of who we are. We can express our true selves more when we feel positive. This proves to me, this is evidence to me that nature is positive, because we come from nature and we naturally will replicate ourselves and our genes when we are positive. We are wired to be good. We are wired to be positive. And it's not just humans, it's all beings. I just want to say that because humans get so focused on humans, but it's trees, it's bugs, it's animals, it's all of the elements of the earth. So we're all, the whole world is, and the universe is wired for goodness. Next slide. And being an osteopathic doctor, as my friend and assistant Hans back here, the skeleton, will tell you, I had to put this slide in because this is traditional osteopathy. This is the study that I went back to and supports everything I'm teaching you here. And it supports ancient teachings of almost all ancient cultures. Osteopathy is but one archetype of many different expressions of ancient wisdom. So I could not resist this. So Andrew Taylor Still is the founder of osteopathic medicine. And in his teaching and his books, he always taught us that he discovered the secrets to healing in nature. And on page 209 of the Philosophy of Osteopathy, which I read on Saturday nights, which makes me a nerd, but because of that, I learned a lot of the core teachings of osteopathy. But this is what he says. Man does not have to take a course in a university to study chemistry because of the fact that he was a chemist when he was born. Now, what does that mean? I mean, when we're born a chemist, our bodies are the chemist, our cells are the chemist. We are born with everything we need to know and do for the full life of that being. And in the 1800s, he knew his cells contained wisdom. But how did he know that? Because he didn't know it with his brain or his mind, because he also taught us that the breakdown of the true nature of humanity, which is really goodness and love and compassion. But the breakdown of that began with the mind prioritizing false pursuits. And then the health of the physical body naturally followed with degeneration. That's sort of a part-time quote from that same chapter. Doctors still communed with and observed nature. It was common sense to him. Everything in nature knew what to do. If you cut your hand, it just heals. It knows what to do. If you get sick, the immune system kicks in. It just knows what to do. You are receiving wisdom from your cells in every moment, in action, in healing, and in guidance, in wisdom. It's a different route of communication that we need to learn how to get used to using, because we've sort of lost that learning in this day and age. But we do need to involve our cells' wisdom when making life decisions and taking life actions. So this sort of demonstrates the theory behind interval entrainment healing, which is a protocol of sound and interval toning with a musical scale and sound to try to help our cells entrain with nature. So next slide. And I'll sort of tell you a little bit more about this. So the theory behind it is kind of what I just said, but also that regardless of our thoughts and actions as ego-conscious human beings, our cells by their own accord are tuned to nature and tune us to nature because they belong to us. I believe, this is my hypothesis, but I believe from the studies I just told you about, and from my teachings in osteopathy and from my life experience and working with patients, that cells also show a level of intelligence that to me is beyond any other, which is devotion and commitment. They are devoted to you and only you, and that's why they are your cells. And they only know how to devote to you because they know your truth. They know the purpose of you, which is kind of a soul kind of thing. So if you think about it, your cells even know your soul purpose because they keep you in line with that your whole life. And they do it by aligning you with nature. Nature is the yardstick for healing, action, thinking, and living life. We do this with interval entrainment healing using musical intervals that come from sacred musical scales, and I have specific ones that I use. And these musical intervals align us with the same thriving, life-thriving, and creative forces that are present in nature. So let's go to the next slide. And quickly, I'll just show you a scale. So this is a Pythagorean tuned scale. And I use this one because it pretty much demonstrates the mathematical and creative structure of the world and the universe. We get into all this in the class. It's so incredible. But for now, let's just say that it demonstrates the structure of the universe pretty much, and the creative, thriving, loving, compassionate forces that continue the universal expansion. So we have 7 notes in a typical major scale. And the 7th, but then I have the C of the next note of the next octave up. So here I have represented for you 1 octave in a Pythagorean tuned major scale. The C of the next octave up, as you can see, it starts with C, then it goes D, E, F, G, A, B. The next C starts the next octave. So here we just have 1 octave, which is 1 cycle. So we're pretty much going to use just 1 octave. And within that octave, we are going to use the intervals that divide that octave into certain proportions and ratios according to divine order, divine ratio, divine purpose, and so much more. We see the structure of this musical scale played out in our body anatomy, in our body physiology, in our life experience, in our levels of consciousness and states of thinking, acting, and doing, and in so much more. Interval entrainment healing can be used with thought, intention, body motions, literal body motions, to kind of restructure and adjust the body, with voice, with breath. So many levels of interval entrainment healing. And for you, I'm going to demonstrate today interval entrainment healing with 3 very stable musical intervals that are found throughout nature. I'm going to do it with a meditation called Communing with Your Cells, because I want you to experience meeting your cells for the very first time, really meeting your cells for the very first time, and communing with them, and then using that in application with interval entrainment healing. So I'm going to talk you through the medication. That's my medical background, the meditation. And then I'm going to play the intervals for you. All you have to do is listen to me and just hear and feel And at the end, you may want to write down any kind of inspirations or thoughts or experiences that you may have had. So with that, I'd like to go on to the next slide. And what I'll have you do is I'm going to start some music and have you sit comfortably, close your eyes, and just take a deep breath in. And then a deep breath out. And feel your lungs expand with every breath in and recede with every breath out. Feel your chest and your belly expand with every breath in and recede with every breath out. Really feeling your whole body moving in ebb and flow to the rhythmic pulsation of your breath. And as you breathe, the air flowing into your lungs becomes white light. And this light fills the lungs, and then it goes through the lungs and fills your whole body. Your whole body merges with the light to become one pulsating unit of white light, illuminating all that is within and around you. Your physical body now begins to re-emerge within this pulsating light, remaining safe within it. As it does so, you feel your body tingling, your whole body tingling. And this feels comforting, like an internal massage. The tingling is the sensation of gentle separation of the whole of your body into trillions of tiny, individual, affectionate, loving beings. You can look down at yourself and see that they are all huddling together in the exact shape of you. Look at the beings and notice that they are looking back at you, and gaze into their eyes. I invite you to allow the following intentions to be communicated to your cells from you. My dearest friends, thank you for your guidance and wisdom, for your unwavering devotion to me, even in the absence of my conscious appreciation. I sit with you now for the very first time in loving communion and in full acknowledgement of your being. I now take this moment of stillness to willingly receive any guidance and information from you delivered to me in any comfortable form that is the highest value for our well-being together. As I look into your eyes, dear cells, please reflect back to me the following. Please reflect back to me the beauty and truth of me. As I look into your eyes, please reflect back to me as a comfortable sensation what is needed for my highest value in healing and well-being in this moment. as I look into your eyes, I ask for and receive your healing action to take place within me now for my highest value of well-being in this moment. I receive this action to continually renew and resonate within and through me for the rest of my life. From the center of my being, I reflect back to you the highest frequency of gratitude, joy, love, and peace that is within my soul. I join in loving communion with you for the rest of my life. And now take a deep breath in and out again. And bow a gracious goodbye for now to your cells, knowing that they're always right there, but simply now just returning to their workings of your body. And once again, feel your breath expand in your lungs, in your rib cage. Feel your arms and legs and your body reemerge as your cells merge back into the wholeness of your body. And deep breath and open your eyes. And please feel free to do this meditation regularly, because when you go within and you talk to your cells in this way, you'll be so surprised what you can accomplish and learn. Words couldn't even express in this moment, but we do this more in the class and at various levels of depth. And we'll talk about it more too. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Shawn. Well, that was a deep dive into the theory and practice and experience. I want to just kind of make sure we thread a few things together, make sure people are really clear on it. So that study you were sharing was really interesting with the separated DNA and cell and material, that it was like, so it's implying that the biofield that we think of as sort of more just around our body is actually more of like a weave between all the different cells. It's like, rather than just it's in one physical location, it's sort of extensible to the different parts. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that, because it is between the cells, it's between the cell and the human, and it's between humans, and it's between everything else. So it's an interconnecting field between everything.
When you're working with the forks and doing this entrainment process, that you're lifting the vibration, not just of our mind or our consciousness, it's really like rippling through all that cellular interconnected system, it sounds like.
Absolutely. So our cells can do chemical reactions where they signal things to each other, and that has an important role in our health and well-being. But there's also this instantaneous transfer of vibrational information, and that is sound. So that is getting right to your cells. That is getting right to your consciousness. And it's in the vibrational and energetic form, just like emotion is. So it can be one of the fastest and most efficient ways to kind of entrain or balance yourself with the positive forces of the universe, because it literally is the vibration that will literally cause an entrainment reaction, which is a balancing reaction that's widespreadly known in physics, that occurs between two vibrating systems that are in close proximity. So you will entrain to these musical intervals that are in line with nature. To what degree? That depends on you and nature. Nature's the yardstick, it's the true north. But how far are we away from that? So we may have to entrain a few times before we kind of get to a balance, which, feels really good. But that's the beauty of this type of healing, is that it really allows you to do it in your own way, at your own speed, and it will bloom through each person in their own way as their own individual balance with nature that aligns them with nature as who they truly are. So it allows us to express our gifts and our full purpose.
I'd love for you to just expand a little bit on this, the tethering of intention with this vibrational work. So is part of the theory then, is that as you're harmonizing and creating this more integrated flow of energy, that it's easier for your intentions to sort of be amplified, and then therefore created?
Yes. So sound is a carrier of intention. Sound is a carrier of emotion and intention, just like our words. We put intention into what we say, but most of us don't realize that the intention is carried on the words, and it has such a powerful effect. And I wrote a chapter on this, by the way. But yes, sound is a carrier, and it carries intention. It carries other vibrational information with it. And intention is the strongest one, because all things are, if you think about it, everything's created from thought first. Every invention that we have was a thought before it was manipulated with material objects and built into something. And our intentions and thoughts can also create life experience and situations and states of health and feelings of well-being. So yeah, the intervals that align with nature do help and train the intentions and carry them into manifestation.
So let's connect this up with, like, if let's say somebody has a disharmonious or disease process somewhere going in their body, how does working with this cellular entrainment and intention, how does that begin to shift the underpinnings of a disease process, as an example?
Well, that is going to depend on the person. And I've had this question a lot because people ask questions like this and about others who have terminal diseases. So the highest value of healing for each person is different. Sometimes the highest value in healing is coming to terms with the illness or the dis-ease. Sometimes the highest value is learning how to be resilient to it, but working around it. Sometimes the highest value is curing it. Sometimes the highest value is marrying it and being accepting of it. And sometimes the highest value for some people is, transferring over and passing over. So how that manifests in each person is different. But what you do feel is an improvement in how you feel. You feel better in some way, whether it's emotionally or physically, or just more encouraged and positive, whether you can become more distracted from it, whether or not it can play a dampened role in your life instead of being something you focus on. It can manifest in people in various different ways. Some people get testing and the dis-ease process is gone. There's no longer any blood work that is showing evidence of it. And I just had a talk with a colleague of mine who was telling me about his wife who pretty much cured scleroderma using another means of vibration. So it can be very diverse in its healing effects through each one of us. And healing is different in each person, because healing is not a state of being. Healing is an experience. It's a dance of how we are in each moment of our lives and how we're feeling and how we are balanced with nature. So the word curing is it gets a little bit tricky because it's different than healing. But that is expressed differently in each person as it is entrained through each person.
How much time does it take to develop really a good working knowledge of working with the tuning fork, so you're sort of optimizing that for your personal biofield and harmonizing yourself?
I would have to say that immediately you can feel effects, immediately. And the beauty of it is that working with it continually, the better it gets, the better it gets. I mean, it can never get as good as it gets. It's just more expansive. So for me, my very first healing experience was just the beginning, but it felt like my life changed in that moment. Like my very first sound healing experience, I felt like my whole life changed. But now I'm years and years out from that, and I'm like, oh my God, it got so much better. So I guess the answer to that is it doesn't take long at all to feel the effects. And they're not hard to use. Tuning forks, for example, aren't hard to use. Creating tones aren't hard to use. This isn't meant to be a difficult process because it's a natural process. And as we'll learn as we progress through interval entrainment, that we can produce tones mentally. We can produce tones without instruments. And in the advanced classes, we go over that, like mental tones and things like that. But to answer your question, to recap on the answer to your question is we can feel the effects of it immediately, and then it expands from there the more you work with it. And the key is allowing the healing to happen within you. And that allows you to actually apply the healing to others. So you can apply the techniques that I show in the class, and even this meditation, please do it every day now. It's yours forever. And I'll be giving this as supplementary material in the full class. But every technique that I show you, you can use it right then. You can start using it right then and there, and it will help you and others.
Very cool. Well, it's exciting work you've developed, Shawn, and it really makes so much sense and really based on a lot of frontier science. So let's talk more explicitly about your upcoming course, which is really a great opportunity to learn the core of this methodology, learn how to apply it, learn how to benefit from it. It's called Sound Therapy with Interval Entrainment Healing. Harmonize your frequency and vibration to activate sentient cells for whole body wellness. You can see it laid out in detail at the URL intervalentrainmenthealing.com, intervalentrainmenthealing.com. It's a 7-week program, and there are no prerequisites. And so whether you're coming from a more scientific curiosity or wanting to heal something personal, or you're working in a healing capacity with others and want to see how this method can really enhance your skill set or your knowledge base, is really open to whoever feels called. And Shawn, I'd love for you to share it on a high level first about really sort of how did this shift somebody's life as a result of going through this program and applying these practices?
Well, it can definitely heal the self. Going through this program, I think the biggest thing is it opens your eyes to like what reality really is. And the thing about that is that's not something I ever thought I could teach because I don't know what reality really is. But I know this. I know that it was more than I ever thought. And the less that I know, the more I feel like I'm aware of. And that is what this class really does. It opens you to the infinite amount of help and wisdom that you have at all times. And this is real stuff. I mean, I've got research that shows this in module 1. I mean, that's dedicated to research and it's speckled throughout the course. But when you open your eyes to really understand and really become aware of what's available to you at all times and what we really are as human beings. I mean, we're quantum. We're photons. At the level of the photon, you can annihilate yourself. I mean, it's now you see it, now you don't. I mean, that's magic, and we are made of that. So if you think about all of the power that we actually have, especially as human beings with ego consciousness, it just opens your mind to and your abilities of self-empowerment and having faith that everything will work out for you and that there's more help than not. Like the only thriving forces of the only effect nature has on you is to help you thrive and live. That is always in your favor. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. But also the techniques that you learn I'll go through a succession of techniques that will get more involved and deeper and more intense as we go. And taking those away to do for yourself, for your practice, these techniques can come through each one of you individually and in your own way, can be used with your specialty in any type of healing practice that you do. So that's a huge thing to be able to integrate into a career, a practice, and also just into your personal life for healing.
Great. Well, Module 1 is called Self-Consciousness in the Field, Unleashing Cellular Wisdom and Energetic Connectivity with Transformative Sound Healing.
That is an amazing module because this is where we go over a lot of the hardcore science that backs up cellular intelligence and the presence of the energy field because it's important to learn about the science. And not just that, when you learn about the caliber of people who actually came up with this stuff, it's that you can't question it. So we go over a lot of the science because I want to make it real for you. And I want to go over the structure of a sound wave and why we would use sound. Now knowing that we have cell intelligence and a universal energy field, why would we use sound as a healing modality? And then, of course, at the end of every module, we're going to do an appropriate corresponding experiential session that goes along with that.
Module 2, the vibrational nature of matter. Activate an empowering alignment with your true essence through quantum mechanics and sound healing.
Yeah, that's exciting. I love this module. Well, I love them all, but this one's exciting because we go over the quantum physics and the vibrational nature of reality. When you look at things from a large perspective, it's so much different than when you look at it from a quantum perspective. It really opens your eyes to how much potential we all actually have. And that's, it's just eye-opening. And then, of course, we're going to be doing experiential sessions around working with the photon. Instead of cells, we're going to go to a deeper level and we're going to work with quantum particles that make us up. And that's really fun and exciting.
Module 3, Journey of a Sound Wave, Part 1. Understand the impact of sound waves on the human body to expand your consciousness.
Yes, this one's, they're all my favorites. So I'm going to say that about all of them. But I'm going to show you in this module, The Journey of a Sound Wave, I'm going to show you a hint of the music of your anatomy. So in module 1, we do some anatomy with how sound gets into your body. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to show you the music of anatomy and physiology a little bit. And then, of course, we're going to use that anatomy and physiology to hear sound and hear it and feel it in different ways. You hear with more than just your ears. So we are going to practice hearing sound with the ears, and we're going to practice hearing sound with other parts of the body.
Module 4, Journey of a Sound Wave, Part 2. Understand the intricate relationship between your body and the vibrational elements of the earth for well-being, balance, and transformation.
Yeah, so this we go over other ways that sound affects the body. I mean, we have the ear, the inner ear, but then we have other ways that sound and vibration affect the body through different kinds of modalities, elements of the earth, the atmosphere and the environment, and just the orbital, the planets and the orbits and all of these kind of things. There's music in everything, and it's all affecting us the same as a sound wave. It's a vibration. And so we go over all of that, and it's important to talk about the elements of the earth because the elements are actually present in our bodies. So we want to definitely go over that. And then we want to experience sound in these different ways in our bodies. We want to be able to experience and feel sound and vibration with more than just the ears, because we are doing it anyway and responding to it and reacting to it automatically anyway. When you tune into it, then you're naturally lining up the consciousness with your body's natural ability, and that has exponential effects in intention and healing and creating the kind of life experience that you want. So that's that module.
Module 5, The Music of Life. Understand the origin and significance of ancient musical scales and transformative power of intervals and overtones for healing and positive change.
Yeah, so this is where I really do teach what overtones are, what intervals are, what harmonics are, and individual tone sequences. So this module has a little bit of music theory. It has some math because we're going to calculate a very important interval. That's a surprise. And we're also going to go over the history of how a certain ancient scale was discovered. And that is so important because knowing and learning that actually helps you understand how it applies to nature. And the person who was put down in history for doing that did a wonderful job of recording not just music, but he was also a mathematician and an astronomer and a musician. You can see the application of how all of these things apply together. And then, of course, we're going to be working with intervals. In this module, we're actually going to be working with intervals. I'm going to take you through the initial steps of the interval entrainment. And we're actually going to listen to all the intervals and experience them as healing as well.
Module 6, Creative Forces of Sound and Vibration, Part 1, Understanding the Relationship Between Sound, Vibration, and Mathematics for Interconnectedness, Love, and Boundless Possibilities.
Yes, so this module goes over the creative forces of sound in shape, geometry, and form and function. So this is how sound creates shape. We go over creative forces as well, like as in conception and things like that a little bit as well. But this will actually bring the sound into like things that we see every day in the creative process of that. And we go over another musical scale in this class as well, and that's presented in this module. And then we experience that musical scale and the progression of the life thriving force of creation in the scale. So we actually experience that.
Module 7, Creative Forces of Sound and Vibration, Part 2. Empower yourself with practical techniques that utilize sound vibrations to manifest the reality you desire.
Yes, and this is really the reality that is for your highest value. So this kind of law of attraction, if you will, this kind of manifesting the life you want is based on manifesting what's your soul purpose. And that is kind of it's kind of squeezed out through the process of sound healing through these ancient scales, these sacred scales will kind of squeeze out of you, not necessarily what you think you want, but what your soul wants, what your soul purpose is. And you'll discover how that plays out not only in anatomy, physiology, and creation of geometry and shape, but this module takes it as far as in consciousness and life experience. How does music and math play out into life experience? And you may think that math is limiting because it's an equation, it's equations. Math is the most freeing thing ever. And I'm going to show you that in this module. And this is the module where we really get into more intervals and we get into more application of interval entrainment healing, because now that we've gone through all the modules and we're learning how the creative forces are applying music and life together, we can actually really apply this whole technique in its first level completely. And you will be able to take that whole first level of interval entrainment healing home with you. After the course is over, you'll have the first level completed.
Well, it's clear you have such passion and depth of knowledge for this work. So really great stuff, Shawn. So again, you can find all the details for this program at intervalentrainmenthealing.com, intervalentrainmenthealing.com. So as we mentioned, it's a 7-week program. You not only have 7 weeks live with Shawn, where you can ask your questions and engage with the exercises, you're also going to get recordings of every session, as well as video and audio recordings and word-for-word transcripts. There'll also be weekly exercises for home. There's a Facebook community to support you in deepening the community and the learnings, and some small group time to connect with other participants and share your learnings and practice as well. On the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses that enhance the value as well. There's a video teaching with Shawn called How to Use Tuning Forks, Create Musical Intervals and Overtones for Healings. That sounds particularly relevant. So Shawn, you want to share more about that one?
Sure. So in this video, I share how to go about activating and using tuning forks. And I think I love to do a video on this one for my classes because it's something you can take home with specific instruction on how to activate your tuning forks. And so I actually have the whole scale in front of me in this bonus. Right now, I just have this one or 2 forks to create 1 interval, but I actually show you how to actually activate the forks and how to apply them on yourself, how to apply them on someone else, and how to use that in conjunction with a practice for any kind of medical specialty or self-healing. So it's a very instructional video that you can use, for the rest of your life just going forward.
Very cool. That's a great extra bonus. And in addition, on the page, you'll find another bonus with Shawn and John Stewart Reed, who's a eminent sound healing faculty member with Shift as well. It's called Cellular Intelligence in Form and Function. That's a video dialogue between the two of them. Truly fascinating. And in addition, there's one extra bonus you get when you sign up by midnight tonight, which is with another one of our scientific teachers at Shift, Roland McCready. This is a dialogue between Shawn and Roland McCready on the science and sound of heart intelligence. You heard Shawn mention multiple times about the research of heart math, which is very foundational in understanding our biofield, the entrainment between different parts of our heart and our brain, and also the effects on the field that we emanate. So this is all about the science and sound of heart intelligence. You want to share a little bit more about that one, Shawn?
Sure. I can tell you that I was becoming coherent just talking to this man, Dr. McCready. The act of just talking to him put my whole body into coherence. But yeah, I love this talk because my course actually presents a little bit of his or the Heart Math Institute's research. And one of the things, of course, I talk about is cell intelligence and the intelligence of organs as well. And his research has focused on the effects of that on health and healing. And he tells us in this talk about more research that he's done. It blew me away. This talk blew me away. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't talked to him because some of this research he's still doing. So you really don't want to miss this bonus. I mean, I want to give away the prize, but I just can't. I don't want to spill the seeds. But he presents some really great research in that talk. And I think you're really going to love it.
It's great. Well, it's clearly a really robust program. There's a lot of value in the teachings and the science and the practices, as well as the bonuses. And we've kept it really accessible as an investment. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full up front with one payment of $349. The course is going to start June 29th and run Thursdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. And I encourage you, even if you can't make those live times, you can still get the full value with the transcripts and the community and the recordings as well. And really, it's about the practices and applying them in your life. So on the page, you'll also see a number of endorsements and testimonials from Shawn's work, brilliant seminal thoughts and insight, well worth it, describing outstanding presentations of very complex topics, a lot of great testimonials about the power and the precision of this work and how it can really help to transform your relationship with your body, with your energy, and ultimately clients as well, for those of you who are practitioners. So you're in for a treat and you're in good hands. And again, you can get all the details at intervalentrainmenthealing.com, intervalentrainmenthealing.com. So Shawn, really great hour today. Thanks so much for your time and wisdom. Anything you want to still share with folks who are considering going deeper with you in the upcoming program?
Yeah. I really wanted to mention that through this course, you will heal. This course is healing while you're learning how to heal yourself and others. So you will experience transformation going through this course. And that's very important to me because that is how I learned. That's how I learned to teach, through my sound healing mentors and teachers. With sound, it's important that you heal from it. And from that healing, through you will bloom your way to communicate what you've learned in only your way. So that's really what we're hoping for. What you learn is only going to be applied by you, the only way you can apply it. So it's not like you're going to be learning something that everybody else is doing, because it's only filtered through you in your way. So that is what I really wanted to kind of let you all know about the course. So thank you so much for listening.
Great. Thank you, Shawn, for your time, your wisdom, and your dedication to really creating new breakthroughs in healing and opening ourselves to the wisdom in ourselves. Thank you so much, all. Thank you, Shawn, and you're warmly welcome to go further into this brilliant system, intervalentrainmenthealing.com, and the program is called Sound Therapy with Interval Entrainment Healing. Harmonize your frequency and vibration to activate sentient cells for whole body wellness. And you're going to get that special bonus with Shawn and Roland McCready when you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you so much. Many blessings.